Richard Widmark finally reveals the truth about his co-stars. He was born on December 26, 1914, in Sunrise Township, Minnesota. His father, Carl Widmark, worked as a traveling salesman, and his mother, Ethel May, was a devoted homemaker who kept the family strong through difficult times growing up. Richard was shy but observant. He didn't crave attention or dream of fame. The Widmarks lived modestly, and the struggles of the 1920s shaped Richard's personality: calm, hardworking, and determined. His family moved several times before finally settling in Princeton, Illinois, where Richard spent most of his youth. As a child, he loved reading and going to the movies. The silver screen fascinated him, but he never imagined being on it himself. In school, he was intelligent, disciplined, and serious about his studies. After finishing Princeton High School, he attended Lake Forest College, majoring in political science with hopes of becoming a lawyer, but destiny had other plans. While in college, Richard joined a small theater group just to overcome his shyness. The moment he stepped on stage, something inside him changed. Performing gave him confidence and a new sense of purpose. His professors noticed his natural talent and encouraged him to pursue acting. What began as a small experiment soon became his passion. After graduating in 1936, Widmark stayed at Lake Forest College to teach speech and drama. He was respected by his students and known for his calm, thoughtful teaching style. But deep down, he wanted more. So in the late 1930s, he made a bold decision. He moved to New York City to chase his dream of becoming an actor. Life in New York wasn't easy. Widmark struggled to find steady work, taking small roles in radio shows and Broadway plays just to survive. He faced rejection after rejection but never gave up. He once said, "If you love something enough, you'll find a way to keep going." Those early years taught him resilience, a quality that would define his entire career. When World War II broke out, Richard wanted to serve but was rejected due to a medical issue. Instead, he supported the war effort by performing for troops and working in radio dramas that boosted morale. He didn't wear a uniform, but he still did his part with pride. By the mid-1940s, Widmark's talent had begun to draw attention. His deep voice, sharp expressions, and emotional honesty set him apart from other actors. Every struggle he faced in his early years built the foundation for the Hollywood legend he was about to become. From the small towns of Minnesota to the bright lights of New York, Richard Widmark's early life was a story of patience, discipline, and quiet ambition, proving that true greatness often begins far away from the spotlight. After years of struggle in New York, Richard Widmark's big break came in a way he never expected. For nearly a decade, he worked on stage and radio, developing his voice, timing, and emotional power. Hollywood wasn't an easy dream to reach, but in 1947, everything changed. That year, director Henry Hathaway cast him in the crime thriller Kiss of Death. Widmark played Tommy Udo, a sadistic killer whose chilling laugh sent shivers down audiences' spines. The role was small, but his performance was unforgettable. The moment he appeared on screen, audiences couldn't look away. Widmark's menacing smile became one of cinema's most iconic images, and overnight, he was a star. Ironically, Richard was nothing like the villains he played. In real life, he was quiet, intelligent, and polite, the complete opposite of Tommy Udo. But Hollywood loved his intensity. Critics praised him for bringing a sense of realism to film villains that no one had seen before. His work in Kiss of Death earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, an extraordinary achievement for a first-time movie role. After that success, studios lined up to cast him. He starred in a string of films that proved his range, from crime dramas like Night and the City 1950 to war epics like Halls of Montezuma 1951. Unlike many actors of his time, Widmark refused to be typecast. He took on heroes, villains, and conflicted men, all portrayed with honesty and depth. What made Widmark stand out was his intensity and control. He didn't need to shout or overact to command attention. His eyes, voice, and presence carried the emotion. Directors loved working with him because he brought truth to every scene. He once said, "Acting isn't about pretending, it's about understanding." That mindset made him one of the most respected professionals in Hollywood. By the mid-1950s, Richard was among the industry's top stars. He worked alongside legends like James Stewart, Sidney Poitier, and John Wayne, earning a reputation for being serious but fair. He didn't chase fame or parties. He preferred spending time with his wife, Jean, and living quietly away from the Hollywood spotlight. Even as new trends came and the studio system changed, Widmark's career stayed strong. He transitioned into westerns and political dramas with ease, proving he was more than a one-role wonder. Films like Broken Lance 1954 and Time Limit 1957 showed his maturity and depth as an actor. Richard Widmark's rise in Hollywood wasn't about luck, it was about hard work, discipline, and truth. He came from a small town with no connections, yet built a career that earned the respect of audiences and peers alike. His journey from Broadway hopeful to silver screen legend remains one of the most inspiring stories in classic Hollywood history. Behind the intense eyes and tough screen image, Richard Widmark was a man who deeply valued love, loyalty, and privacy. Unlike many Hollywood stars who lived in the spotlight, Widmark kept his personal life away from fame's glare. His marriage wasn't a headline, it was a lifelong partnership built on respect and quiet devotion. Richard Widmark married Jean Hazelwood in 1942, long before he became a movie star. Jean wasn't an actress or model chasing fame. She was a talented writer and a fellow student he met at Lake Forest College. Their bond began when both were young dreamers, uncertain of the future but sure of each other. During the early years of marriage, times were tough. Widmark struggled to find acting work in New York, and money was tight. But Jean stood by him through every rejection and disappointment. She believed in his talent even when Hollywood didn't. Widmark often said that without Jean, he might never have made it. Their relationship was built on trust and quiet understanding, something rare in an industry full of ego and temptation. When success finally came with Kiss of Death in 1947, Widmark's life changed overnight. Suddenly, he was famous, respected, and in demand. Yet, through all the fame, he remained grounded, always crediting his wife for keeping him steady. The couple welcomed a daughter, and Widmark, who later became a successful artist and writer. Despite his busy schedule, Richard made sure family always came first. While many of his peers lived fast Hollywood lives filled with scandal and divorce, Widmark chose simplicity. He avoided parties, rarely gave personal interviews, and preferred quiet evenings at home. He once said, "I married the right woman before I became an actor, that's why I stayed sane." His marriage lasted more than 55 years. A rare and beautiful record in the movie world. In the 1990s, tragedy struck when Jean fell ill. Richard cared for her until her passing in 1997. Those who knew him said her death broke his heart. For a man who had played so many villains, his real-life love story showed a completely different side: tender, loyal, and deeply human. A few years later, Widmark found companionship again. In 1999, he married Susan Blanchard, the former stepmother of Peter Fonda and ex-wife of Henry Fonda. Their marriage was short but filled with mutual respect and friendship in his final years. Through all the fame and the years, Richard Widmark never lost his humility. His marriages reflected who he truly was: not a Hollywood icon, but a man who believed in lasting love, honesty, and loyalty above everything else. By the time Richard Widmark became one of Hollywood's most respected stars, he had worked with some of the greatest names in film history. Unlike many actors, Widmark never played the fame game. He valued honesty and professionalism more than popularity. And when he finally spoke about his co-stars, his words revealed the truth about the people behind the glamour. Widmark's first major impressions came from working with Marilyn Monroe in Don't Bother to Knock 1952. At that time, Monroe was on her way to becoming a superstar, yet Widmark saw something few others noticed. He later said, "She had sadness in her eyes. She wanted to be loved for more than her beauty." He respected her as an actress but pitied the loneliness fame brought her. Widmark described Monroe as vulnerable, sweet, and far more intelligent than people gave her credit for. Another co-star he admired deeply was Sidney Poitier, his partner in The Long Ships 1964. Widmark called Poitier a man of quiet strength. He admired how Poitier handled racism and Hollywood pressure with grace and dignity. "He didn't fight with anger," Widmark said. "He fought with class." Their mutual respect turned into lifelong friendship. And Widmark often praised Poitier for opening doors for future generations of black actors. But not all of Widmark's experiences were easy. When he worked with John Wayne in The Alamo 1960, the two powerful personalities clashed more than once. Widmark respected Wayne's patriotism but found him stubborn and controlling. Still, he later admitted Duke believed in what he said. And you couldn't help but admire that, despite their differences. Widmark recognized Wayne's passion for filmmaking and called him a real American original. Widmark also worked with Henry Fonda, James Stewart, and Spencer Tracy, whom he described as true professionals. He loved Fonda's quiet confidence and Stewart's natural warmth. Tracy, he said, had the rare gift of making acting look effortless. Those men showed up prepared, Widmark once said. No ego, no drama, just dedication. Unlike many of his peers, Widmark avoided gossip and celebrity feuds. He refused to talk badly about others, but when asked direct questions, he always answered truthfully. His honesty earned him respect throughout the industry. He believed that every actor, no matter how famous, carried personal struggles behind the camera later in life. When journalists asked what he truly thought of Hollywood, Widmark said, "It's full of good people pretending to be perfect. The trick is to stay real." Those words perfectly reflected who he was: authentic, grounded, and brutally honest. After decades of fame, respect, and an unmatched career, Richard Widmark's final years were marked by quiet reflection and heartbreaking loss. He had lived through Hollywood's golden age, worked with the biggest legends, and earned a reputation as one of the industry's most honest men. But behind that strong image, his final chapter was filled with loneliness, love, and the slow fading of a brilliant era. By the mid-1990s, Widmark had largely stepped away from acting. He no longer cared about movie premieres or awards. The fame that once defined his life no longer mattered. He often said, "Hollywood gave me everything, but I was happiest when I walked away from it, instead of red carpets." He chose peace, spending his days with his wife, Jean Hazelwood, in their quiet Connecticut home. Their marriage, which had lasted more than 55 years, was the foundation of his life. But in 1997, tragedy struck when Jean passed away after a long illness. Her death broke Widmark's heart. Friends said he was never quite the same again. He had lost not just his wife but his lifelong companion, the woman who stood by him through every success and failure. In the years that followed, Widmark lived a simple, almost hidden life. He avoided interviews and rarely appeared in public. The man once known for his intense screen presence became a private figure, spending his time reading, walking his garden, and watching the old movies he had once starred in. "I've lived enough for 10 men, he once told a friend. Now I just want peace." In 1999, seeking companionship, he married Susan Blanchard, the former stepmother of actor Peter Fonda. Their relationship was built on mutual respect and shared understanding. Susan brought calm to his remaining years, helping him find joy again in small, ordinary moments. Though age slowed him down, Widmark remained mentally sharp and proud of the work he left behind. He often spoke fondly of his co-stars, men and women he admired for their craft and courage. He wasn't bitter about Hollywood. He was simply done with it. On March 24, 2008, Richard Widmark passed away at the age of 93. His death marked the end of a generation, one that valued talent over fame and truth over glamour. Hollywood mourned quietly, recognizing that one of its last true gentlemen was gone. Widmark's final years may have been filled with silence, but his legacy speaks louder than ever. He left behind not just great performances but a reminder that integrity lasts longer than fame. Even in his final days, he remained the same man he'd always been: humble, honest, and real.